Well, welcome back. Welcome back to the Extraordinary Drummer Show. As you know, I'm your host, Cheron Moore. I always say today. Well, guys, we done gone back. Without this guy, I don't think a whole bunch of bands and drummers would have made it. A couple of companies there, too. I wrote the word legend here. He's actually, for us, he's actually a legend. He's the guy who, if there's a such thing as rock and roll, well, the guys made it rock, but this guy made it roll. I'll tell you that much. We all love him. We all miss him. Will you help me welcome to the show, Bobby Booze? Hey, Bobby.
Hey, man. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Let me say welcome to Extraordinary Drummer Show.
Thank you, sir. Welcome. Absolutely glad to be here.
How you been, Bobby? Long time.
Yeah, man. I just been working through like pretty much everybody else, when extraordinary times for extraordinary drummers. So, but it's all good. We're still doing it, and that's a beautiful thing.
You're originally from Tacoma, Washington?
That's where I was born. I was an Air Force brat, born on an Air Force base. So, I can't remember the name of the Air Force base because by the time I was about a month old, I was living in West Palm Beach, Florida. So, Air Force kid. But yeah.
Very cool. Tell me about you becoming a drummer. When did you first started singing drums, and when did you get your first drum kit?
Well, that's a long story. My dad was a jazz drummer, big band swing guy, and so I grew up listening to everything from Ella Fitzgerald and Billie Holiday to Frank Sinatra and Nat King Cole and all that stuff. Had no idea what it was, but that's kind of interesting. What is this? And then you see Buddy Rich on TV, and growing up as a little kid, he was pretty impressive to watch. And
let me keep you back in the formidable years. You remember when you got your first drum kit?
Yeah, I think I was about 10, and I think it was out of a Sears catalog. If you run your hand on the inside of the shell, you get splinters. One of those. I don't remember, like Whitehall or something it was called, I think, which I thought was the name of a carpet company, I thought. But anyway, I could make noise. I made noise. I made lots of noise. My parents were the best. I reflect on that quite often, still to this day, and go, oh my God, that they didn't just throw me out and say, you need to find a new place to live. Number one, you suck, first and foremost. But I guess they thought, what, we know where he is, we can hear him. But it was something like that. And I think by the time I got to high school, that one of the drummers that was sort of pretty good, he was a school drummer, had a little Ludwig four-piece Ludwig kit, and he sold it for $200, and I bought that, cymbals and the nice Superphonic snare drum, and I was in heaven.
When you were in high school, did you do any of that bugle corps, marching drum stuff?
No, you know what? I did not, and I probably should have. I was influenced by drum and bugle corps, which of course turned into drum corps, and just all the marching snare lines and all the cool stuff they were doing, and it was pretty cool. It made me try to get better in lots of different areas, and but I did not do the school thing. I did a few lessons here and there with guys, and just enough to kind of get myself in trouble. I did a little bit of brief stint at University of Wisconsin doing music theory, vocals, and piano. And I did about a semester of that, and then I went on the road and never kind of turned around. But that was it.
Did you go to UCLA College?
I did go to UCLA. That was more music business, psychology. There's a couple other things in there. I did try to get as much information as I could to try to figure myself out and with the psychology and business and, how to make things work and communicate. And I still work on that to this day, but that was the start. I started out touring in Wisconsin, moved to Atlanta, then moved to Columbus, Ohio for about 5 years, and which would have put me up to 1986 when I moved to LA. And that was kind of the transition from being a touring recording guy to just another drummer on the street looking for a gig in LA, of course. That's really kind of, I mean, I know it sounds really simple. One of the cool things about Atlanta, we had a spec deal on a label called Bang Records. And it's kind of this double secret company. It was run by a guy named Bert Burns, who had written songs like Piece of My Heart for Janis Joplin, right down to Hang On Sloopy. He had written a bunch of hits. And his label, Bert Burns, was an acronym: Ahmet Erdogan from Atlantic, Nashui Erdogan from Atlantic, and I believe it was Jerry Goffin, and who was a big music guy. It was a side label for them, aside from Atlantic and all the other stuff they were doing. The first signings were Neil Diamond, Carole King, God, just a ton of people. I can't even remember them all, but they would take us into the vault to look at all this music, all these 24-track tapes, and we probably had to have a drool cup under us. We're going, oh my God, there's Janis Joplin, Neil Diamond, Carole King, all these hit songs. It was insane what we were surrounded by. Now, we were a rock band, so after a couple of years, they decided to cut us loose, and we got a few good tracks out of it, but that was about it. But that was a bit of growing up, and we played with Greg Allman for the better part of 3 weeks at one point after he and Cher broke up in Daytona Beach. That was a wake-up call to what musical talent was really all about. I mean, at that point, we were still kids in our teens. We thought we knew everything, of course. And Greg made us grow up fast. It was quite an education, but anyway, then fast forward, went to Columbus for a few years and recorded a couple records and toured a lot, opened a lot of shows. Our biggest was we did some in front of about 17, 18,000 people, and that whole vibe, which, as you know, is just an odd thing when you're in front of that many people. It's sort of like, what are all these people doing here? What is this? But the beauty is, when you hit your drums, it goes, woof. But
Bobby, tell me, what was the name of that band?
That particular band was called Rosie. It was, you call it an 80s rock band. More, I think, probably English rock style than American, but there was enough of the Midwest in there to make it real likable music. And you know what? It got me a long way. It got me to the point we sold enough records that I was able to become a voting member for the Grammys. So, that was something. And I've been doing that up until about 3-4 years ago. And anyway, that was the next bridge to the trip to Los Angeles, like the next level, the next learning curve. What's next? Where do I go from here? And that was where the real education began. So that kind of gets us to LA.
Tell me about being in LA. How did it turn to marketing and A&R work?
Well, I had done several jobs when I first got there, the survival thing, and ended up at Pearl first, and I was running their warehouse. It was, it was a great job. It was a lot of hard work, but it was a great job, great people. Tell
me a little bit about LA Drum Services. What's going on over there?
Well, Chris and I started out, you know Chris Oxat?
I can't say as I do.
He was one of the super techs around town. Did everybody from Black Sabbath to Madonna. And he had decided he kind of wanted to get off the road, and I was out of my thing. And we opened a place in Burbank, 6,000 square feet. The idea was super home for drummers, like, providing tech services for tour, studio, TV, whatever, videos, and storage. And you know what? It was just, that would have been a 2010, late 2010, just as the economy was going. And we talked about it and thought, this is what's going on. This could be really bad. The time is, it's an odd time. People don't have a lot of money to throw around. And that kind of turned out to be sort of the, at least temporary undoing. After a couple of years, I was offered some tech work, and I took that and signed the company over to Chris.
Bobby, tell me about this one. You're the CEO over at B2 Production Services.
That's basically me setting up the work, the whole work environment for myself, where I can get myself out to do pretty much whatever needs to be done, including playing drums if I needed to. I've been doing that since the end of my stay at Ladd's, the drum services, and I picked up a TV show called Real Music Live, which is based out of Orange County, and I did that for about 3 years, and up until that point, I was jamming. It was great.
If I could chime in there, Bobby, I want to do a little drum technique talk here, because you just know it from inside and out as a musician and as a tech. But I want to see if I could get you to tell us a few stories that you experienced teching with different drummers, some of the things that could have happened out there and guys are up on the horizon. I know you've seen it all, man.
Yeah, some are funny stories, some not so funny. Stuff breaking is the worst, but being prepared is the only way to go. I don't know. There's a couple. Did you come right to the front of my head and go, no, I can't tell that story. That's just I can't do that. But
Bobby, someone's going to ask me this question. What is the relationship a drummer should be thinking of when it comes to cartage, when it comes to backline? A lot of guys, I hear stories, they don't get what they want. They're very particular. What is the decorum? What is the etiquette a drummer should have when dealing with backline and the backline company?
You know what? You want them to be your best friend. You want to be their best friend, because if you attack them, you're going to get what you get. And it's probably not what you're asking for. Most backline guys do a really good job and really try hard to make everybody comfortable.
And what's the relationship when a drummer has a ton of endorsements and cannot play certain things that backline companies might put up on the riser?
You mean in terms of the contract? Yeah, that's where it gets a little sticky. I found that if you provide a front drum head, that oftentimes will get you over that hump. Now, most drummers are understanding of that, and they realize you're doing backline. You might have 10 shows out there, and you might have 8 guys asking for the same thing. So, get rid of the logos. And even in one case, a very well-known drummer was playing with Jerry Lee Lewis, and I said, "Look, you know what? That kit is out. It's gone. I don't have it, but I can get you the hardware and a logo on the front of the bass drum." And he said, "You know what? That's really good, because drummers, first thing they're going to look at is your hardware, and if you don't have the right hardware, they're going to call you out on it." But he said, "That works for me."
So we have a thing on the show that we call Word of Advice, where I ask the guests, I ask the drummers, if they'll leave a parting word of advice for the up and coming guys, or even the guys at the next level, but that guys that are trying to get traction in this game, in this industry, in this business, would you leave them a word of advice, please?
The one that comes right to the front and center is respect. It's respect. This business, you don't get a whole lot of anything if you don't get respect. That's really it. And that means giving respect and hoping to get respect back. And it's a tough business. It's not for the faint of heart. And, if you plan on making $1 million, I don't know, be an attorney. That's it. I really respect is big. So that I don't even know where else I would go from there. If you don't have that, and I learned so much from so many of the people. It's respect.
Bobby, here's a question. I used to ask the drummers at the end of the show, and that is, Bobby, what would you want your legacy to be said, to be told?
Wow. I haven't thought much about that. I'm still trying to build it. I ain't gotten it. I don't know. I mean, that's a rough one. When I first started at SIG, just a really quick story, the whole thing, I didn't want to do artist relations because I didn't want to feel like I wasn't a player. But the job was in my lap and it was decision time. And I said, okay, look, I'm going to embrace this. Here's the deal. I'm going to take care of my guys and girls. Full stop. Everybody's going to have what they need when they need it. And that's my commitment to this, doing this job. And that was always my thing, is just take care of business. I guess, make sure the gig is good. Make sure it's right, and make sure everybody's taken care of. That's it. Really, I mean, I guess it's to making, I don't know, how do you verbalize that? I've never thought about that. You put me on the spot. That's kind of deep. I wish I could give you something better. I haven't thought about that. How about he tried? That's really it, man. It's all about making it better. That's it. And whatever I can do to help that along, that was it. And, again, I guess back to the cymbal days, it was about, what? The drummer should never have to worry about his equipment. Never. He's got to worry about his gig, his artist, his music. He shouldn't have to think about his equipment. That's always got to be right. Done. That's really good.
That word legend just fits you so well, man. You've seen it all, done it all. Can't wait to read this book.
Yeah, me too.
Hey, let me say thank you so very much for being on the Extraordinary Show.
Thank you, man. I'm touched. Thank you.
You have to know, we miss you out here in LA.
Well, I might come back. For you.
I'll stay on the sidewalk.
Yeah, right. Oh,
okay. All right, will you help me? Will you help us wave goodbye to all the fans in the audience?
Thank you. Great show, by the way. Great show.
Thank you, Bobby. I'll talk to you soon, okay?
Okay, man. Thank you.